short story, but as it goes, I was up actually at the property yesterday, and things are really progressing there really quite well. I was both at the QR mine site, and we've finished all the underground mining, and at Bonanza Ledge, they're actually trying. We got really nice and sunny. It's been dry all month, so we're trying to move as much material as we can for both dam sites as well as stripping all the ground off to actually start mining. So anyways, for those of you that don't know, we went through a little bit of a hiccup over the last 14 months where the BC Securities Commission cease traded the company's stock on a news release that we put out stating that we had some 10.6 million ounces indicated. When that number was republished this year, it was going back onto the 10.6 million ounces of that was an uncapped and unconstrained pit. Snowden actually went in and they actually exceeded those numbers that Peter actually published. But going forward, the new numbers that have been published are 1 million ounces indicated and 4 million inferred. And the reason that the inferred number is so large and not more into the indicated category is Snowden's taken the position, and Apex as well, by the way, that all of the drilled data that was from Cow Mountain, and we're looking at now as more of an open pit mine as opposed to a high-grade underground mine, is that the model is different. So most of the core, when we sample, is we would sample just the typical quartz veins that we thought we could mine. Now the new model is everything must be sampled. So the core itself is, if you took a typical hole and say it was 500 or 700 feet, there probably might only be 30 or 40 feet that's been assayed. The balance of it is still in the box. So what we've been doing is we've been going through and cutting all of that core. There's 13 geologists that are actually on site. They're re-logging the holes, cutting that core. That will be sent in for assay, and that's being done now all screen metallic assay. For those of you that don't know what's involved in doing a screen metallic assay is that we take, typical assay is 30 grams, and you fire assay that out of, say, whatever size of sample that you sent into the lab. What we do in a screen metallic assay now is we've actually increased the size of the sample to 1,000 grams, and of that 1,000 grams, they take that and they cut that in half, and that's crushed. So the whole sample is actually crushed. Half of that, 500 grams, was set aside, and that's referred to as the reject. The other half of the sample is split in half again into what would be quarters. A quarter of that, the whole thing is then pulverized. Half of that, which would be 250 grams, would be is called the pulp, and the remainder of that is actually what they assay. So what we're doing now is we're going back and we're taking all of the rejects from assays that have been done, and we're taking the reject portion of it, so it's a little bit coarser crushed, and they screen it first, and after they screen it, then they assay that portion of it, and they pulverize it and assay the other portion of it, put the two of them together, and it's the average of the three is what gives you the truer number. So it's a little bit more than twice the expense to actually do it, but the number is actually truer, and you get the coarse grained gold out of it as well. So that's in progress. So because all of the hole hadn't been sampled, it's deemed incomplete data. So with it being incomplete data, the numbers become inferred as opposed to being an indicated or measured number. So when they complete doing all of this re-assaying and the assaying of the core that hasn't been done, and there's literally, hundreds of thousands of feet that's being done, we will then put together a new number, and we expect that new number to be out in the first quarter of next year. So we're really working really hard to try to get those numbers out to you as quickly as possible. And the numbers that we did do, to give you some sort of idea on why we're doing this, is that when Snowden requested that we re-drill to twin 9 holes, we ended up doing 14 because some of them had underground workings and they were incomplete. So what we've done is of those holes that are being, the 9 holes that were done, when they did the fire assay, they got one number, and the lab automatically, when they see a high number, they automatically re-assay it, and they'll do it as a screen metallic. So what we've done, what they realized is that we were seeing this coarse gold, and also in the core that hadn't been sampled is you'd have these small little veinlets that were really carrying an awful lot of gold, and I can't quote any numbers because we are trading now, but they were really, some of them were very significant. So as we get the whole data back, so we'll get the portion of the hole that was never cut or assayed before, and then the rejects, which we have going back 19 years, all of that data. So we're pulling out those rejects and sending those. So when we got the rejects back from the core that's already been assayed, plus the new core that's being assayed, when that is put together, we will republish those drill results. And we're expecting to be some significant numbers. Now what we did realize is that when we did that was that we were seeing somewhere between 15 to 20% was coming back, improving the grade on those 9 holes. And then we were seeing even higher numbers on the core that had never been assayed before. So we still didn't publish any numbers on that, so I can't either, but we're expecting to see some pretty significant stuff. In terms of the Island Mountain port, so that's on what's going on Cal Mountain. So we're expecting to see new numbers again in the first quarter on Cal Mountain, and we're expecting those numbers to be much higher than what's been published so far. On the Island Mountain portion of the property, there's just a whole group of geologists and staff working over there, and we're going through all of the data that was, all the drilling that was done before, going back to the 70s. All of the core from the previous owners and drillers that drilled, they didn't assay any core that did not have replacement style mineralization in it, which is what they mined historically on the Mosquito Creek, Orem, and Island Mountain mines. So I was there yesterday, as I was saying, and it's amazing. There's, I don't know, 100,000 feet. It's a number. I don't know how large it is. I've never actually added it all up. I've never seen anybody else, but all of that core is still all whole. It's very well labeled. We're going to go through and relog that stuff and start cutting that as well. Now the geologists, and there's a whole team of them that are working on Island Mountain, are just ecstatic because the model before was for a high-grade deposit. The model now is really a very large open pit. So you now look at everything. So when we go and do our excavating or when we're doing soil sampling and stuff, is you're not sort of looking for these really small veins. You're just taking it with the excavator all the way across the top, and we map and log everything. And we're even amazed ourselves as what we're seeing and stuff that we weren't looking at, because we weren't looking for that before, but what we're coming across now. So again, in the first quarter of next year, we're actually expecting to have some results on it. And the geologists are even really quite excited. The morale has never been higher than it is right now because we're just finding lots more. And it's not so much that we didn't know what we were doing before, the model was just different. So I'll quickly go through this because we don't get a whole lot of time here, and I'll just see what I've got here, but I just thought I'd give you just a little bit of background on what's going on so that you can read this. There's some PowerPoints, we've run out of them up front, but I did bring some more with me, so somebody's going to go up to the room after the show and pick up some more so you can come and get them. So this is our land package. You're looking at, back here, oh, there we go. So it's some 67 kilometers long thereabouts, about 20 kilometers wide, for those of you that don't know. What we're showing here on this slide that we're just started introducing to the public is that there's not one mine trend, but we've actually identified there's 3 mine trends. So we've really only been focused on one. And if you think the property is 67 kilometers long, we've actually only been focused on 8 kilometers of it for the last 19 years and spent about $120 million. And that's just on the smallest portion. So if you think in terms of camps like Val d'Or or Timmins and any of these other places, we own the whole camp. So there's 7, I believe it's some 7 former past producing mines on it, and these were all high-grade mines. So like I said, the model is different now. So the stratigraphy is showing that we're going to see the same thing in 3 different trends. Now, the lighter trend that you see more to the north of it it's a deeper seated. You must remember that these rocks sat off the ocean floor, off the coast of Japan, millions of years ago, and they've all been pushed up, forming the Rockies and various stuff. This is the first set of ground that's slammed against the original continent, so that there's an awful lot of folding and stuff going on. So we're just getting a better handle on the geology too. So we're going into our 20th field season up there, and we still don't have a good handle on it all yet. This is just showing some of the showings on on the first mine trend. So this is one of the 3 that you're looking at on the previous slide. So there's lots of showings. And what you're looking at here that we're just starting to show now, this is 22 kilometers long. So you can see there's some other showings up here. Does this cursor work? Here we go. So you can see there's some other showings up here. This is Mount Proserpine. The richest creek in the valley was Williams Creek. The second richest creek was Grouse Creek, and that's right here. And the third richest was way over here, and it actually doesn't show up, pardon me, it's right there, and that's Mosquito Creek right in there. So those were the three richest creeks. This here, we've done a whole bunch of work. Newmont actually has, on the top of this, they have an NSR on here, as well as they have an NSR on the top of Barkerville Mountain. So these are areas that we're going to sort of start doing some more work on. And this is exactly the same geology and the same matrix of what you see on Island, Cow, and Barkerville Mountain. So we're stoked about this. This is again showing some of the, this is airborne geophysics on top of it, and you can, just whipping back your, sorry folks, you can see where the mine trends are in the red here. This is the Jacket Club's Lake, this is Island Mountain, this is the grids here that we're working on. This is the Mosquito Creek mine, this is Cow Mountain, moving right along, and then you can see here, this is the same stuff on Posset Mine and these other creeks. So it shows up really quite well. We're really very excited on it. And you can see just a small portion. This is the only portion that was mined, and you're looking at some 22 kilometers long here. These are the underground workings along with a plan view of the underground workings. Now, in the original estimate, when we suggested that in Peter's initial report or the initial news release that there was somewhere between 65, or potential for 65 to 90 million ounces, that was really based only on 3 mountains, and that was these 3 that you're looking at here. When the resource estimate was redone, the commission wouldn't allow us to do depths on other parts of it, so we cut the whole thing in half for them. But if you do the math and add up what was allowed by the commission, and let me tell you, this went back 3 or 4 times until you got to the point where the geologist said, you know, enough's enough, we're not changing the numbers anymore. And so they allowed us to go to a depth of 2,000 feet on the Island Mountain mine, which is right here. So this is Island Mountain, Oregon, and Mosquito Creek mine. But on Cow Mountain, they wouldn't allow any of it. And on Barkerville Mountain, we could only go down to this depth right here. So when you add this up with, and I don't know if they got the numbers published here, so they're suggesting that on Island Mountain, they had somewhere between a potential between 6 and 22 million ounces. Those are the numbers on the bottom. 0 for Cow Mountain, but the resource is 5. And I'm doing these numbers combined just to simplify things. So that's 1 million indicated, 4 million inferred. And then over here, the number that they allowed was somewhere between 3 and 6 million. So if you add those numbers up, plus the 5 million that we have, that's 32 million ounces. If you double that, which is what we cut it in half, if you double it, that's 64 million, or it's the lower threshold of what Peter suggested that the numbers would be. So we still think that there's a target potential there. We're focused on that, and this is, you know, this is probably going to be one of the richest properties probably in Canada. And I'm saying that because there's a lot to it, and we think that we're going to find an awful lot more. This is just showing the underground workings. I just want to go back here one more. What's really funny is that the workings go below what was allowed to be reported in the resource, yet we weren't allowed to report any of it. It was really quite comical. We laughed about it. But now here you can see how these replacement lenses over on Island Mountain plunge at about 12 degrees. Bonanza Ledge, which we're just starting ready to mine here, these plunge about 12 degrees over on this side. And the significance, this is the right up here is Bonanza Ledge, and I'll just move down on plan view, is that these lenses that you see here sit on this contact right along here, and it's called Rainbow and Baker. These replacement lenses sit on the opposite side over here in the opposite side of the stratigraphy. The difference being is that they're 10 times the size. So the largest stope in the camp here was 35,000 tons. If you thought of this as one stope, it's about 350,000 tons. So it's in the middle of a bigger fold. So if you thought of you're going surfing or something, you got a set of waves that rolls in. It's pretty much how these things are slide up like a deck of cards. Well, so you've got this first wave that comes in, and then that's what these are on the Island Mountains. It sort of sits on the fold nose where the gold is. And then you got the second wave that comes, and then third wave is the much larger wave. If you're going surfing, you grab that. Well, that's where it sits on Bonanza Ledge. This is the Cow Mountain underground workings and where the resource is. And as you can see, the workings actually go below. I'm going to whip through this because I know we don't have a whole lot of time here. So this is the Island Mountain and what the commission would allow us to say. So again, these all add up to about 32 million ounces. Gold and quartz. We hadn't really seen gold and quartz much in the first 17 or 18 years that I worked there. The deeper that we're going, the grades seem to be getting a little bit better, and we're definitely seeing more native gold. And it's an old cliche, you know, these things get better at depth. Well, I don't really believe that stuff, but in this case, I'm sort of changing my psyche on that because we are seeing much better gold values at depth. And it might be, I think the old timers probably took the stuff off the top, and that's why we don't see it now. These here, what we're permitted to drill right now, there's quite a bit of work that we don't have the money to do all of these things, but this is what we are permitted to do. We're going to start. We're going to start drilling. There's 2 drill rigs on site as of today, and a third one's being moved this afternoon, and we'll probably fire up at least 2 drills starting tomorrow morning on Island Mountain. So there's going to be some more news coming from it just to share with you. These are the different targets. This is what you can see here. This is the outline of the proposed pit on Cal Mountain as we know it today. Outside of it, we're just starting to find more. This is all being dug up with an excavator, just because we're looking for a different animal now. So it's Bonanza Ledge sits over here. You can see this is all hydraulic mining that was done in the 20s and 30s. The walls are about 150 feet tall. The creek is way down here, of course. This is the road. You'd almost think that this was Calgary with all this white I was seeing on here, but so Bonanza Ledge, they're going to truck it down here. It's 110 kilometers from here to the QR mill. This is again looking at it from a different angle, but we're definitely finding more stuff. Okay, thank you. This is a picture of Bonanza Ledge. Here we're digging. Almost all of the surface material, the organic material, has all been moved off top, and I'm going to suggest in the next 2 to 3 weeks, weather permitting, we'll actually be mining and start trucking down to Bonanza Ledge, or to QR, pardon me. This is sort of give you an idea in the rock types, the stratigraphy you're looking at. This is rainbow rocks. So this whole rock type here is what the open pit model is in. It's all in this rainbow rock. So this, we call this the rainbow zone stuff. And it's really quite thick. It's up to 1,000 feet thick, and we're focused on it. These are the processing facilities. This is the QR mill that we've got right here. As I said, I was there yesterday. They're going to fire that thing up. Well, they actually had it running. And we poured bars in January and February this year, one in each month. And so we just shut it off. We're doing some more maintenance on it. QR, this is the QR itself. This is the underground workings going into, this is where we've been mining. We're going to flood this here really soon with water from the main zone pit, which is right here. This is the main zone pit where the cursor is. Underneath it, there's a zone that's 1 kilometer long underground. This is the front door of that adit that goes in here, and there's the adit there. It goes straight down here, and it goes in about 700 meters or so. And where it ends is right in the middle of this zone here, which we still need to do an awful lot of work on. We haven't done any on this yet. This is just some of the work showing what's going on. These are the mill itself. This is the gold stream facility that you're looking at here now. And this is what we're going to do, the gold stream. And this is pouring gold bars. And this is a picture of me with the gold bar. And this is how much money we're going to spend. Only because they're telling me how much time I got. So I can field a couple of questions, and if we don't get them all answered here because they want me to move on, please come by the booth and I'd be happy to answer any questions. Eric Sprott was kind enough to lend us $15 million a couple of weeks ago. We're going to spend it really quite as best we can. At the same time, when the stock achieves a $1.34 price, and it's been moving up really quite nicely. If you thought about what the amount of ounces that we have published today, we're trading at about $16 an ounce in the ground. At $31 an ounce in the ground, we would be about $1.50 a share. I think that we're going to, I'm expecting, and this is a forward-looking statement, that we should be there soon. As the value of the company is really, should be much higher than what it is right now. So on that note, folks, I'm going to go because I know they got somebody that's right behind me. Please come by the booth and happy to share more information with you. One more thing, at the $1.35, for those of you who don't know, Eric gives us another $5 million, and we're really looking forward to getting that check. And I expect to get that check this month. So when we get that check this month, the stock has to double from where it is right now. We doubled from last week to this week, and I expect to do that over the next 30 days to double again. Thanks an awful lot. Talk soon. Please come by the booth.